Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Sunday, June 19th. It is Father's Day, 2011. So happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. It is 5 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time. I know you're probably thinking, why am I up this early? Well, let's just say I slept for a while after I did some garden work with my mom, and we also have my mom's landlord, or me and my mom's landlord, coming by in a few hours to do an inspection as well as look at something that needs to be fixed in the house. But anyway, let's get into what I'm here to talk about. Something I've talked about many times over and over and over again, and that is the current Genesis storyline, which is now out and in the hands of some people, but is yet to be in the hands of myself and others. Now, a lot of people speculated, that, they don't know, have speculated whether this is an alternate timeline or it is a potential reboot of the entire book. Well, first of all, let's talk about some of those things right now. And I've talked about them many times before. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, this is not an alternate timeline. You could think that in some ways, but it's actually a reboot. A soft reboot, as they call it, which means it's not major, it's not an overhaul. It's that certain aspects of the book are going to change, but not everything. Now, some people have compared this to other comic book titles like DC's Zero Hour, and you could definitely see some similarities there. To House of M and a few other storylines and stuff as well. The truth is, folks, this is just to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the book. Not the book, but of the franchise. That's all it is. It's to celebrate the 20th anniversary of it. Now, this storyline that we see in Genesis, and I think is, if it sounds very similar to a lot of people, and it should sound similar in some ways, it's due to the fact that this is actually based off the Death Egg saga from Sonic CD. Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic CD, that's what this is based off of. It starts out sort of like in Sonic 1 and 2, but then definitely starts going into that Death Egg situation that we see in Sonic CD. Because you see, now you can correct me if I'm wrong or not, but according to some sources and what I've read online, the Death Egg saga that started around Sonic 3 into Sonic and Knuckles and then Sonic CD was basically almost similar here. You see, the Robotnik or Eggman in those games tried to alter time to, alter time. He tried to basically rewrite the world in his image, just like he's doing here. So this is basically, in a way, an updated version, in some ways, of what we saw in Sonic 3, Sonic Knuckles, and Sonic CD. That's what it is, folks. Now, I know a lot of people question the fate of a lot of characters. People are wondering what's going to happen with certain characters. Some are even wondering what's going to happen with Princess Sally. Some are saying she's dead. Some are saying they're not sure. And some are saying it's a toss-up, because no one can really tell. And a lot of people also bring up a situation, folks, that is very truthful about these storylines in some ways. You see, when you want to kill off a major character, you don't kill them off by just having them shot off screen and just let that be it. You don't do that, folks. You give them a heroic death. Everybody has said this. Everybody has mentioned this. Whether it's on the Sonic Stadium forums, the Sonic Saturday forums, Saturday Morning Sonic, MobiusForums.net, the Sega forums, which currently are not working for some reason, or the cartoons and comics section isn't working right now for some reason. And I'm pretty sure those over the Bumble King forums have said the same thing. Now, somebody commented, I think, in the comments box in I don't know if it was a Sonic Universe or if it was Sonic 225 or what it was, saying about boys knocking on Sally's door to date her or something like that. Somebody asked that question, and I guess Ian or Paul or whoever writes the responses said something like, "Well, I don't know if anybody's going to be knocking on her door now." You see, I think it's kind of become very obvious as to why Genesis was wrote. You know, it's not just to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the franchise. It's also something for the newer readers. You see, us older readers, you know, we can get surprised, we can get caught off guard by what Ian writes and stuff, and you know, and it's happened. But the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, you know, he may catch us off guard with Genesis, but I think we all realize that Genesis is just something for the newer readers. Because when you think about it, he basically says that this would be a good jumping point, you know, for people that have never read the comic book, or for newer readers to really get acquainted and reintroduced to the characters of a Sally, of an Antoine, of a Rotor, of a Tails. That this would be a good jumping off point, if you will, or jumping in point. So that's basically why Genesis, in my opinion, was written. Not just for the 20th anniversary of the franchise, which I think is a great thing, but also because of the fact that it's for the newer readers. It's almost similar to why certain events in other comics have happened, and throughout those events have sort of started to come together, if you will. Things have started to be unraveled. Things have started to go back to the norm, if you will, in these certain story arcs for certain other comic books. You know, Spider-Man, for example, where I guess the devil or whatever the devil basically, you know, erased MJ's and Peter's minds and memories of ever meeting each other and being married and stuff like that. And all of a sudden now, from what I've read, those memories are starting to resurface. You know? And you know, what's even more funny about this, folks, is there's a one major comic book reader that, even though he doesn't like the Sonic comic book that much, and I don't know if that's just for his on-screen character, but when this guy did his multiple-part review on the Ultimatum, he said that basically killing somebody or killing a character for no reason whatsoever was pointless. Now, basically what he's saying is that in the Ultimatum storylines, you had a lot of major superhero characters of the Marvel Ultimate Universe being killed off in stupid ways, in pathetic ways. Like Tidal Wave, and they're supposed to be so powerful and all that, but they're getting killed off so easily. And then he talks about what happens with Wolverine in in the final issue or something like that. I mean, folks, you know who I'm talking about. The guy I'm talking about, his name's Linkara. And if you watch his Ultimatum review on YouTube, as well as on blimp.tv and theguywiththeglasses.com, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He basically is stating the same thing that a lot of us have stated. Stated about the whole Sally situation, about the whole Hershey situation. They're killing them off in the way that they were killed off, supposedly, is pathetic. It's stupid. It has no meaning. I mean, he's even gone off and said that if you would have killed off these certain characters in a more heroic way in the Ultimatum deal, it would have made more sense. You know, don't kill them off just because you feel like it, or just because you want to kill them off due to the tidal wave and disasters and whatever. You see, that's another thing that, you know, some people have about this whole Genesis deal and what Ian did with Sally, and even previously what Ian did with Hershey. They don't buy it. They really don't buy it. You know, I'm not saying yay or nay of what he's going to do. I mean, you know, I'm a fan of Sal. I'm a fan of the character. You know, I like the character. I do. But you know, and I've mentioned this many times over. I bought one of the Sega World Sally plushes, and I have it stored away. But the for safekeeping. But the thing is, folks. Why in the world would you kill off a major character like Sally, a character that's essentially been a part of a centerpiece, essentially has been a centerpiece of the comic, off screen like that? You don't. And it's stupid. You know what I'm saying? So again, this kind of goes in what Linkara said in his review of the Ultimatum. It's stupid. If you're going to kill off a character like Sally, kill her off in a way that, you know, makes sense. That makes her look heroic. You know, he said something about one of the major hero characters being killed off because they were eaten literally. They were being eaten literally by a villain. And that was the Wasp in the Ultimatum. And it was stupid. The Wasp is, you know, maybe the Wasp isn't that big of a character, but still, the Wasp is a very popular character to the point that she could have a heroic death. You know what I'm saying? The same with Dazzler. You know, she may not be as big as Cyclops or Jean Grey and all that, but but she's big enough and popular enough to have a heroic death. What I'm saying, folks, is a lot of people just don't buy what Ian's done with the characters of Sally and Hershey as far as it goes with the storyline. Because it's just like Linkara said. It doesn't make sense. I mean, when they killed off... Here's the thing. When they killed off Jean Grey as the Phoenix, even in the cartoon adaptation of the Phoenix Saga, they gave her a heroic sacrifice. They didn't give her a killing where it's like, bang, bang, okay, she's dead, move on. They didn't give her that. They gave her a heroic sacrifice. Now, again, going back to what I'm saying, a lot of people pretty much have an idea of what's going to be occurring in the next few issues. Now, again, I'm not saying that Ian Flynn can't catch us off guard, because he can. And he's proven it. He's proven it with the final issue of the Silver Story arc in Sonic Universe. But one of the things that a lot of fans have always pointed out, and I agree with them on this, is why build up trying to get what is known as the main couple of the book, the main romantic couple of the book, back together only to kill off one of them? Why do that? Why, so you could put tragedy in the character's life? You know, one person told me, and I mentioned this before, they said that Ian was surprised by the fact that Sega gave the nod to allow him to do what he did. Now, at first, you would think it was to give him the nod to kill off Sally, but essentially, according to many sources, or many other fans out there, he didn't just essentially kill off Sally. He killed off everybody with this whole, wipe the world clean deal, a whole Operation Clean Sweep deal. That's what he did. But again, this is why it reminds a lot of people of House of M, Zero Hour, and a few other, comic books and stories that have been like this. It's all due to the fact that it's nothing more than for this comic, it's nothing more than a soft reboot. It's kind of like every time there's a new cartoon series based on a comic book or a franchise that comes out. Like Transformers, for example. Generation 1, came out. Beast Wars came out. Then Beast Wars came. Well, if you go to Japan, Headmasters and all that was a continuation. But then Beast Wars years later. Then Armada. Then the animated show. Then and now recently Prime. All these are basically after Generation 1. All these from Beast Wars all the way up to now are nothing more than reboots. Same with the movies, the reboots. I mean, for us longtime fans, we already know the story, but we're getting similar rebooted retellings. And that's sort of like what this is right here, but it's not a major one, it's a soft one. Because according to what Ian has said, according to some other major sources, things go back to status quo. The only question that we're left lingering with is what happens to Sally. Does she live? Does she die? Is it Sally that dies? Is it Nicole? Is it Jeffrey? Who is it? We don't know. And another thing that really bugs a lot of people, and a lot of people find it not to be true, or not to tie in with this in any way, is the whole Ken Penders deal. A lot of people always probably have been asking, why haven't we seen characters like Hershey? Why haven't we seen characters like Julie Sue? What's going on? Why are we only seeing characters like Linda and Jeffrey? Well, there's a situation for this. You see, we haven't seen Linda or even Lawless Sue that much unless they're written in for a certain story. Lawless Sue, or Jenna Ka, as she was known in the Silver Story arc, we knew she was coming back there. But, again, here's another situation. The reason we haven't seen Julie Sue that much, or Hershey that much, is due, possibly, and I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but I think it's due possibly to the fact that, Penders' lawsuits got something to do with it. Now, I know a lot of people will say that that's not the case, and you might be right, but tell me then, when was the last time we saw Julie Sue? When was the last time we saw her? Exactly, it's been a while. The last time we saw her actually was around issue 200. Actually, the last time we saw her, she had a cameo in 223, and that was it. That was it. She was in the crowd, and that was it. We didn't see anything else. Folks, what I'm saying here is that I'm not trying to go out on a limb and say that Ken has something to do with the fact that we haven't seen Julie Sue in a while, and that's why and we haven't seen Hershey in a while, and that's why Genesis is being done. I'm not saying that, but I read on one of his little blogs that he does, that people find and repost onto the certain websites, that Ken believes that Genesis coming out at this time is Archie's way of trying to avoid any connection with him. Essentially in his mind, Archie's basically giving Ian the thumbs up to say, hey, go with what you want to go with. That way it's more of your style and our style instead of Ken's. But again, I'm not trying to say that that's the case or anything. I'm just saying that that's a possibility. It's a strong possibility is what I'm saying. Well, maybe not a strong possibility. It's more of the fact that it's a slightly 50-50 possibility. Now you're saying, well, Jeffrey was made by him. Linda was made by him. Yeah, but here's the thing. They've been used sporadically lately, and we haven't seen them that much, except for sporadically. I mean, Linda, yeah, she'd be the exception, but I want you to think about something. The Iron Dominion deal, the second to last issue of the Iron Dominion deal was the last time we saw her. How long did it take for her to come back? Not that many issues, but a good amount of issues. And we haven't seen her that much since. Except lately when it came down to what was happening. We haven't seen much of her since. Now, again, what I'm saying, folks, is I'm not trying to come out and say that Penders has any influence on what's happening, but it's just kind of ironic in his mind that a lot of this is happening. And you do have to admit that it is kind of ironic that we haven't seen Hershey that much, nor have we seen Julie Sue that much. And if we've seen any of his characters that can help create on the book, it's been very sporadically, or if it's been in small cameos or background appearances, and that's it. And we haven't seen, nay or yay of them, since then. Unless it's really called for. So, again, I really don't know what's going on in that situation. But again, I believe, here's what I think. I believe as far as this Genesis thing goes, sorry about that. As far as this Genesis thing goes, I believe Ken's wrong about the Genesis thing having anything to do with what's happening. But I do agree that it's kind of ironic that we haven't seen some of his characters that much in quite some time. Now, some of you may say, well, it's because maybe, Ian hasn't had any plans for them yet, or he's saving them up. I don't know. He could be and he could not be. But, getting back to Genesis in some ways, again, to me, I think this is nothing more than an updated version of the whole Death Egg story from Sonic 3 to Sonic CD. Now you could say, well, they've done a Death Egg adaptation before. Yes, they have, but this is more of Ian's updated version. Because, again, if you take a look at the timeline, not timeline, but you take a look at the similarities in story, in the game, Robotnik, Eggman, tried doing the same thing. He tried to rebuild the image, or try to reshape the world in his image by a time situation. It's sort of similar. You got to put it that way. Now, as far as what happens afterwards, well, we obviously know that he's going to lose, but we don't know exactly what effects are going to be long lasting. According to what Ian told Nintendo Power, these effects are only going to last a year. We don't know if we're going to see Sally get killed and then probably be brought back in a year. We don't know if Nicole's going to die, get brought back in a year. We don't know. We don't know any of this. Again, it's all up to what happens. And I'm pretty sure those that have the issue already kind of have a better clue and idea as to what's going to occur in the next few months. I mean, a lot of us that have been long-time readers, we pretty much have an idea already. We read Sonic 225. We pretty much have an idea anyway. So, again, obviously this whole Genesis deal, it's up in the air as far as certain elements go, certain characters go. But to me, this is what I'm seeing. Similar storyline to the storyline between Sonic 3 and Sonic CD. Similarities to some things out of Marvel and DC. Those are similarities there. The other thing I see is, you want to have a good reference as to, something not making sense. Watch Lynn Carr's Ultimatum reviews, and you kind of get an idea that this whole situation with Sally falls into that same category. And then, overall is, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with said character or not. Every time I do a fan vid, with the Sonic Girls in there, I always mention in the description box that it could be the last time for one of them, but we don't know which one. So, but that's just my overall take right now on what's going on with Genesis. Again, I'm not saying that Ken Penders has any influence on it. I think he's wrong about it. But I think in a way that the fact that we haven't, leading up to this, we haven't seen Julie Sue that much. We haven't seen Hershey the cat that much, and Hershey the cat being killed off screen in the way it's described. Again, that may be Pender's influenced due to this lawsuit and everything, but we can't really say. So, but overall, that's my take on Genesis. And all I'm going to say is we'll just have to wait and see. Again, just have to read the issues starting this week, probably for me, and going into the next couple months. We'll just have to wait and see what happens and see what Ian pulls out of his bag of tricks. See if he can upstage us, if he can surprise us, or if we're going to be right on the ball about what he's doing. So, give me your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll talk to you later.